Messenger on this Zoom right now. So over the next 45 minutes, if anything pops into your mind, hopefully we can try and fit it in at the very end. So don't be shy, get involved, head over to the Messenger and start that conversation. Also, as I mentioned as well at the very beginning, just a little bit of housekeeping as well. Please keep your microphones on mute unless invited to speak, of course. With Zoom calls, we need to do this, otherwise it becomes very noisy and very hard to follow. So look, last month we had the pleasure of speaking with coaches that front up the Dragons. This month, tonight, we are chatting with some players: Jamie Roberts, Sam Davies, Ben Carter, and a little extra for you tonight, just for a bit of contrast, defence coach Simon Cross. So let's do a big virtual round of applause for all of our special guests this evening. I can see some claps. There we go. That's good. So to our special guests tonight, thank you so much for giving your time tonight. Jamie Roberts, especially, because I know that you've got your hands full at the moment, especially off the pitch. Let's start with you, Jamie, and a big congratulations to kick off to you and your partner, Nicole, who've just welcomed little baby boy Thomas. Congratulations.
Thank you, Polly. Yeah, certainly challenging. I've a newfound respect for rugby playing dads, because I guess throughout my career, a lot of my mates have ended up having kids, and never fully appreciated how taxing it can be on your sleep and how that affects your training and stuff. I mean, the first week back, it was running on fumes, really. It kind of felt a bit strange, but I'm getting there. I'm adapting, taking quite a bit of advice off your man Simon Cross, who's also on the call, off how to deal with children around the training week. So yeah, it's just an amazing experience, and I've loved the first 3 weeks.
Absolutely. Are you still in that sort of newborn haze bubble, if you like?
Yeah, just sleep, isn't it? Like, I think as athletes, rugby athletes, professional athletes, you kind of take all that stuff pretty seriously. But I guess that part of your life goes out the window, especially from Monday to Thursday. I mean, Nicole's been great with understanding, rugby. I think it helps when your partner's got understanding that maybe on a Thursday night you need to retire to the back bedroom just to make sure you can function properly for the game. But yeah, still in that kind of hazy kind of sleep phase, but it's good. I'm adapting.
Yeah. Good. Well, we're very, very happy for you, and of course Nicole as well, and we wish you guys well. Obviously, I know he's only about 3 weeks old, but look, it would be lovely to fetch him up on Welsh soil, of course. So the question that we all want to know is, what does the hold for you?
Yeah, we'll see. Look, I've obviously I'm having those conversations at the minute about next season, and like, I think as much as any of the boys in the squad, certainly the lads on this call, Sam and probably Ben Carter in particular, for a guy who's come into the squad and hasn't played in front of that massive crowd at Rodney Parade yet, like, that is what I'm missing the most. I'll be completely honest with you. I'd hate the thought of finishing my career not playing in front of a crowd again. Like, I really want to play, certainly for another year at least. My body feels good. I guess COVID has re-energized quite a lot of players, certainly myself. It was in the latter part of my career. My body feels much better for that break. And I feel young again, I feel 27, 28. Well, my knees don't, but my energy and my body feels that way. So, look, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying being around the lads, enjoying playing competitive level, and we'll see. Not giving anything away.
I'm not going to give anything away, but well, let's hope there's good news on the horizon. And I know that you must be knackered at the moment, but you have said that you've talked about feeling re-energized this season, and I'm assuming that's down to you move to the Dragons this season.
Yeah, but I guess it's being around lads and a coaching group that has energy as well. You kind of feed off each other, and it's a young group. Certainly, a lot of young lads who are enthusiastic about the game and enthusiastic about learning, and that certainly, as a guy who's in the latter stage of his career, that rubs off on you quite a bit. And when you're around players like that, you kind of have you kind of go with them, they drag you with them, and two, you have this sense of duty to ensure that they're grown into the players they should be as well. So, I'm hoping to give to those Dragons lads, but certainly they're giving me a lot as well.
Absolutely. Well, look, I hope that you will stay at the Dragons. You know, as I say, hopefully we'll have some good news soon. And your dad, Norman, a lifelong Newport supporter. I mean, he's
Yeah.
probably gagging to get back at the terraces and to watch you with his new grandson as well.
Yes, yeah, certainly. And, you know, I'd love the thought of my kid watching me play as well, albeit he probably won't have a clue what rugby is. But again, like I spent a lot of my career seeing rugby lads walk their kids on a pitch, and you never really understand it until, I guess, you have a kid of your own, and all of a sudden, sorry, you can probably have my baby screaming in the background.
I did say, I was thinking, is that him right now?
Yeah, yeah, and I just, yeah, that's something I look forward to.
Perfect. Sam Davies, let's head over to yourself. How has the season gone for you so far? I mean, it's been a season like no other, hasn't it? Welcome to Zoom, by the way. Hope you're good.
Yeah, no, I'm well, thank you. Yeah, it's been a bit of an indifferent season for obvious reasons. A little bit stop-start with all the COVID stuff at the beginning. A bit frustrating, to be honest, that we couldn't seem to string games together. But it's been the same for everyone, really. Also, a little bit frustrating when we went into Europe, our first year in Europe in a while, and we kind of got struck down. 8 of the boys in the team getting pulled out last minute with the COVID, which was a bit of a nightmare. And, you know, it's been frustrating for the last kind of 7 or 8 games not being able to produce a victory. And, you know, thankfully we were able to do so on the weekend. And, you know, we were desperate for that win, and fair play to the boys. I think we deserved it. We've been training really hard in training. And, you know, we were finally able to do it, and hopefully that will just lead to more wins now because, you know, as Jamie said, there's a good group of boys here, a good young group who are desperate to learn. And it was just kind of getting the monkey off the back, really, that win. And, you know, like I said, we've got 3 games left of this season now where we're just going to be fearless in playing our opposition, hopefully get a couple more wins under our belt.
Absolutely. And I mean, you know, you were absolutely deserved the win, but just how important was the win over your old region Ospreys, you know, for team morale, the boost?
Yeah, it was massive. I can't really understate how big it was for us, just like I said, because we'd been on kind of a losing run where we'd had some good performances, but we're just unable to get the result. And, you know, to be able to have put the performance in and get the result it was just massive for the boys' confidence, and, you know, took a bit of stress off us, a bit of pressure off us, because, you know, in the environment you can see how much the boys want to win. And I've been in clubs, you know, I've been in situations where you just can't seem to find it, but when you do get it, then it kind of flips the season around a little bit. And I'm hoping that's what happens in this situation, because, you know, before that kind of block of games where we had the COVID hit, we had 2 good away wins in Treviso and Glasgow, and you just felt like the momentum was going to build there. But it was unable to do so for obvious reasons surrounding that Wasps game where we get 8 boys pulled out, and we pick up a couple of injuries over Christmas, you know, myself included, unable to play in the derbies, and then the games kept coming and we were just unable to grind them out. So to get the win in the derby, and for me against my old team, was just, you know, it was brilliant. And, you know, like I said, it was no more than the boys have deserved for the work we've been putting in on the training paddock.
Absolutely. Well, let's hope there's some sort of momentum now going into Saturday night against Ulster. Thank you, Sam. Let's head on to Ben Carter. There's a couple of you here tonight, so we'll move on quickly. But Ben, welcome to this Zoom tonight. How has your first senior season at Dragons gone?
Yeah, no, it's been brilliant. I mean, all things considered with COVID, and like the boys have just mentioned, you know, it's been quite disruptive. But I've really enjoyed it personally, getting those sort of opportunities to be involved and be interested in that role has been really good. And, you know, I've had some good experiences, and like Jamie was mentioning, it would have been nice to play in front of crowds this year. I think that's, you know, it's happened to everyone, and looking forward to hopefully doing that next season. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, talking to Jamie, how much support have you had from the senior players?
Yeah, they're brilliant, really. You know, always, yeah, everyone in the squad is always happy to help, and they've got a lot of advice to give, and, you know, it'd be silly not to take advantage of that. So yeah, there's a wide variety of experience that we can learn from. like we've mentioned, it's a young group, and it's a great balance of people keen to learn and people keen to sort of teach. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what are your hopes then for the rest of the season? Is it just to play as much as possible?
I think, to be involved, but also, we've got that win against Ospreys now, and it's given us this confidence, and we're not just going to sit on that and sort of, just be happy with that one win. I think, these next 3 games we're going to win, so hopefully, I'd like to be involved and like to help the team, but ultimately try and be successful in the tail end of the season.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being here tonight, Ben. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more questions coming your way in just a bit from all the supporters. Let's move on to Simon Cross. I can't quite see you on Zoom somewhere. You're in a little box somewhere, Simon. But
hopefully, I'm around somewhere.
There you are. I've got you. First up, Simon, welcome, of course. The European draw was made today. We've got Northampton Saints at home. Thoughts on that?
I mean, exciting for the boys. Looking forward to they're a top quality side. We're quite fortunate in the fact that we know the Northampton coaching staff pretty well. Myself, Mevin, Gordon and Dean worked with Sam Vesti, who's the attack coach, and Phil Dowson, who's the forwards coach in days gone by. So we know them quite well. We know their style of play. And I think actually it's kind of a mouth-watering matchup, which is, it's exciting.
Absolutely. And let's talk about your season. How has your season gone? How impressed have you been with the development in defence?
I think Sam could have hit the nail on the head, really. It's been a stop-start season. It's been quite tricky in terms of creating momentum into a season. But I think the key thing for me is that there are just so many good people around the building at the moment. And, the 3 blokes you got on here tonight, you've got Jamie, who is a defensive guru in himself. And, I've been very lucky to be able to, rub shoulders with him a little bit and pick his brains about what he's done in the past. I've got a guy like Sam Davies, who's desperate to beat Ollie Griffiths in the turnover sort of jackal bits of a brave 10 in that mix. We've got Ben Carter in his first professional game, makes 32 tackles and doesn't miss any. So you've got some really hard-working, tough blokes around, and to be fair, that's all we need. It will take a bit of time, but I think probably you can see from the weekend's result, the guys started to get on top of the Ospreys, which is brilliant, and I think that's where we need to be, and we're improving, and I'm excited about what the future holds.
Absolutely. And just, continuing with that thought, you must be looking forward to a big end to the Guinness Pro 14 season with the 3 games at home as well.
Yeah, I've got 3 home games. I mean, it's great the fact that we've got away from home 3 times now and got some good results. Desperate to get the fans back in. I mean, I was around a bit last year. I got to a few of the home games, certainly over Christmas last year, as a sort of in my part-time capacity. And there's nothing quite like the Rodney Prey crowd. I experienced it as a player against the Dragons, but desperate to get the crowds back in, and I think the boys will enjoy the last 3 home games.
Absolutely. Well, Simon, thank you very much for joining us tonight. There you go, guys. Just to warm you up slightly, a couple of questions from me. Jamie, Sam, Ben and Simon, thank you for answering my questions. But let's start with the supporters. And to begin, I want to welcome Paul Roberts from Dragons Official Supporters Club, just to say a few words about the club and to also kick off the Q&A with his first question. So, Paul, if you could unmute yourself and take it away.
Done. Hi, thank you very much indeed. Evening, everybody. Thanks, guys, for coming along and giving up your time to answer our questions and so on this evening. Cracking win on the weekend. Superb. Absolutely outstanding. It was brilliant. Shouting I was on the TV. Brilliant. Just the running rugby we really wanted to see. Superb. Just quickly before I launch into my question, just to promote the Player of the Month. It's Player of the Month in inverted commas, in that because of the lack of games, we're going to sort of combine February and March. So you can go on our social media pages and vote for your player of February and March combined. There's instructions on how to do that on both Twitter and Facebook if members want to go on and do that.
Vote for ourselves?
Sorry?
We go on and vote for ourselves. Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't be telling you to do that now. So more the better. So I'll get on with the question then. So obviously that was a phenomenal win, and obviously we're not allowed back into Rodney Parade quite yet. 3 home games. You just think it would be absolutely bouncing there, wouldn't it, if we were all allowed back in now with these next home games, but not to be. What do you think clicked? So we've been waiting for a game like that and a win like that. What do you think clicked to bring that together during that match? Just start with that.
Do you want me to open it up? First, so I think we had a decent performance against Leinster a couple of weeks ago. Connacht, I think a lot of boys are coming back from injury, so it was a bit of a mixed bag in terms of we managed to score 3 driving line outs, but other parts of our games weren't functioning. Leinster, I think we played well, but it was more towards the end of the game that we came out of our shells and really took it to Leinster. Zebra was a poor performance from us, if we're honest. Not a lot of things went our way. If we're truthfully honest, I think our line-out probably didn't function as well as we would have liked, and our contact area, we were getting turned over far too much. And to be honest with you, Zebra aren't as bad as what maybe they were a few years ago. So, in my personal opinion, maybe showing the opposition a bit more respect would have done us a bit more good in that game. But a reaction against the Ospreys, we knew emotionally and energetically we were going to be there. It was just making sure that the boys had all the kind of role knowledge pieces. And I think it just clicked. And sometimes you go through phases. We were on the back of 7 losses going out to Zebra. And, sometimes it just happens. I've been out to Zebra with, outstanding teams, and I've come away with losses. And I can't quite put my finger on that myself. But just to be able to get the reaction we did against the Ospreys, everyone on the same page, we had a real team camaraderie that week. We are really a tight group, and we knew that win was going to come at some point. And like you said, it just clicked. We were able to kind of express ourselves in terms of playing a bit more rugby. As players, the coaches kind of give us a bit more freedom in terms of you make the choices and we'll back it. And that was just a good kind of mindset to go into the game with. And I'll never question the endeavour. I'll never question the want from our team. Sometimes I just think we fall off in terms of a little bit of role knowledge, which may cost us. But it's just about being able to consistently back that up, and to go from a good performance against Leinster to a poor performance against Zebra to a good performance against Ospreys. We don't want to be kind of up and down, if you like. We need to find this kind of happy medium where we're consistently performing well. So it's just about how we go about treating this week now, going into Ulster, and making sure that we can come out like we did against the Ospreys and put a performance on the park which is credible to us. And I think, the way the week's gone so far, we've had 2 tough days again, and the boys are really putting the work in. I genuinely believe if we go out there fearless against Ulster, that we can put something on that park which will beat Ulster, and that'll just put the momentum rolling like we've hopefully done so winning that Ospreys game.
Pitch looked quite good compared to what we were playing in.
It was. I don't think anyone's played on that pitch in about a year and a half. So, funnily enough, it was a lot better than Rodney Parade. But, I mean, who knows what the weekend holds in terms of the pitch. But we're used to that now. I think possibly against Connacht, we probably didn't play to the pitch, whereas Connacht seemed to just kick it in behind us. And it's a tough pitch. It's such a heavy pitch, and hopefully they can sort that pitch out for next season. I've heard rumours they're going to do so, and that would suit our style of play. I mean, we don't want to be this team that's kind of just stuck in kicking games. We want to be, we want to be an expansive team, and we want to entertain our fans because, at the end of the day, that's our job. And on the weekend, I feel like we did that on a decent park. It was a nice evening, and hopefully we're going to be able to do that in the future because it's definitely where we want to go as a team. And, I'm sure that'll be music to all of our supporters' ears. But in terms of finding the balance as well of knowing when to run, pass and kick, that's an important part of our game as well. But in terms of some positive feedback for the supporters is we want to be an expansive team and a fearless team, because as you saw on the weekend, if we are fearless and we do have a bit of belief in ourselves, we can go and hurt teams, and that top teams like that as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your insight there, Sam, and thank you very much, Paul, as well, for joining us tonight and for helping us bring this event alive this evening. So look, here are some of the questions that I've had in when you signed up. Feel free as well to use the messenger again in this Zoom room if anything does spring to mind, and if we've got time later on then we can ask it. We usually have loads with 5 minutes to go, so get your questions in early and hopefully we can ask them. From Daniel Hallett, also from the Dragons Official Supporters Club. Jamie, we've already touched on this at the very beginning, but he says, how are the sleepless nights going? It gets worse, by the way. You might want to forget that bit. But he also adds, are you looking to utilise your medical degree and return to clinical work when the time comes?
Yeah, so firstly on the sleep thing, I've been told the first 18 years are the worst, so I've got to dig in on that front. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I guess I'm at that stage of my career where I've got to seriously start considering the afterlife, as they call it. The other lads aren't quite there, but look, I've worked hard off the field during my career, but even still, I think I'm at a point where I still don't quite know what I want to do after the game. So whether that's going to medicine, I've actually reset some exams to allow me to do that, or do I stay in the game? Like, and I'd love to stay in the game. It's just a question of in what capacity, whether that's coaching, administration, media. I just not quite where that is. Rugby, I'm definitely going to stay in the game. It's just a question in what capacity. But yeah, I guess all players at different point in their lives think about what they're going to do after, because it is finite. But often players only start thinking about that when they finish. And I've certainly, been of the mentality to kind of try and do stuff off the field during my career. Just to kind of give myself options, but even still, it doesn't make it any easier. I'm still there, and I haven't got a clue what I want to do. So, hopefully, answer that question in my own head over the next year or two.
Yeah, sub question: were you ever asked to get stuck back in at the during the peaks of COVID, and did that ever cross your mind that they might need people on the ground to help out again?
Do you know what? Well, I volunteered with Cardiff and the Vale, but it wasn't in a clinical capacity because I've been out. I graduated in 2013, so. You can't just dive back straight into clinical work. It'll be probably more of a risk than asset. So yeah, as I said, I've done these exams, and that'll buy me 2 years. So once I've passed the exams, that'll buy me 2 years to start my foundation year. I always grew up wanting to be an orthopedic surgeon. That was the goal. Then rugby kind of got in the way of that. And rugby went quite well, and it's just a tough slog. I mean, it's a decade post-grad training that I'd be starting at 35, not 23. And now with a young family, I guess it's a different proposition altogether. So there's so many factors at play, but all players go through it. A lot of my colleagues have finished playing now, and some do well, some struggle. You kind of learn about their experiences, and I guess until it happens to you, you can't prepare at all. It's I guess it's one of those things that you can only really truly understand when it happens to you. But that's the thing. And I think as players, you appreciate you've only got this window in your life to be a professional rugby player. So as long as you're still fit and enjoying it, I'll keep playing. My knees are starting to struggle a little bit, especially on the 4G pitch we train on. But I'm still enjoying it. I'm still enthusiastic, and I won't start worrying too much about the afterlife until I finish playing.
You haven't hung your boots up just yet, have you? So,
who's saying that? Is Sam saying something there? Was he?
I was just trying to say the 10 houses he's got should do him in the right.
Oh, well done.
Right place.
Retire, Jamie. Live the life of luxury. I think that's what he's alluding to. Ben, a question for you from Daniel. We hear plenty from the coaches that you were constantly reviewing your performances and eager to learn, but was it a shock to the system to actually get a run of games?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely surprised myself with sort of how much I've been involved. In pre-season, I was really enjoying just training. and mixing with some big names and learning a lot. And it's nice to get into matches because it does sort of highlight things that you need to work on more, and sort of, you get that opportunity to review yourself, of how you've performed against some quality opposition, where you probably don't get that as much just training. So it's really good for that. And the coaching setup's great in terms of they'll come to me and help sort of highlight things I need to work on, tell me what I may have done well, it's excellent having these games to sort of gauge on things that I need to improve, and sort of the previewing aspect as well. I enjoy looking at other teams before we play them, to sort of find things that we can exploit and stuff like that. I really enjoy that side of the game.
It's a great work ethic to have and mentality to have. So thanks, Ben. Martin Carver has asked a question for Sam. Can you describe the atmosphere in the camp? He also continues with, do you think you can continue with the form shown against the Ospreys for the remaining 3 home games so that we can finish on a high? I know you've touched on that, but what is the atmosphere in the camp at the moment, Sam?
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, considering what's been going on in terms of, like that losing streak, which everyone's very well aware of, it's been fairly good. I mean, the boys are always we're such a tight-knit group, and when things aren't going well for you as a team, and it's just about how you behave about it. And I think our behaviours have been to try and work as hard as we possibly can. We've been coming in on Mondays, we've been working hard. Tuesdays are predominantly our tough days anyway, so we go tough on Tuesday. A day off Wednesday to rest up the bodies. I mean, Jamie probably needs that a bit more than anyone else at the moment to rest the etc. But then Thursday we're back in and we're working hard, and thankfully it paid off. It paid off for the Ospreys game. And looking forward to the next couple of games, you've got 3 home games where we're obviously going to take it game by game here, and we're not fully out of being able to get into that Champions Cup qualification spot yet. So there is a lot to play for, but I think what we did for the Ospreys game was we just reined it back in. We kind of come to a point and made things a little bit. We just cleared the boys' heads in terms of thinking about too much. We had a couple of headline messages which really made the boys be able to focus on their jobs more, and that really showed in the game. I think if you look at the Zebra game, where we had a bit too much information in our heads, which restricted us from being able to play to our full potential. And I think the coaches have got it spot on against the Ospreys, because what they've done is they've pulled it all back. They've given us a couple of headline messages, which has just freed the boys up. And I think we've learned our lesson now. And I think going into the Ulster game, it's going to be pretty much the same. And I mentioned at the start of the call of us being fearless, and that certainly showed in the Ospreys game, where we were playing a good bit of rugby, and a lot of people have been saying that, and albeit with a nice dry ball and a half decent pitch to play on with no rain, which is we're kind of getting used to playing in the rain, but it does show that we've got the potential in this squad to play some good rugby and to take teams off the park. And I think to be hypercritical of that Ospreys performance, and I think me and Jamie spoke about it after the game, I think we could potentially be, putting our score lines even a bit higher against these teams if we're a little bit more streetwise in some of our decisions. And that's the exciting thing about this squad, is we've won a game comfortably. We never felt like losing, to be honest, and there's still things in our game which we can tweak, which will push us on to bigger, better things. So certainly, looking forward to the next 3 games. We're going to be a fearless team going up against 3 strong teams who have all got points to prove in their own right. But I'm very confident, or I'll say I'm quietly confident, because I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. But if we a good win against Ulster will really put us in good stead. And yeah, we'll just take it from there then.
I love the passion. It's very addictive, Sam. Actually, maybe Simon then, just to pick up what you've been saying, Sam. And this is a question from Mark Gornicki. He says, Dragons over the past few years, they have tended to pull off the odd upset, but then never really seem to sustain the momentum. What do you need to do, I suppose, to build wins like that one at the Ospreys?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I was actually going to ask to jump in there because,
from
a coach's perspective, it's this has been an unbelievable year in the way that momentum is a big thing, consistency is a big thing in any team, and our inability to pick a consistent group and therefore create momentum has caused some issues in the last sort of 6 to 8 months. But it's also a really exciting time, because if you look at the youngsters that we've been able to blood since the COVID pandemic is, if you look at Josh Reynolds has now come in, Ellis Shipp's had a lot of games, you now got Benny Carter, you got Ben Fry came back, I could really and Aaron Owen, you've got Rio Dyer out there, you've got all these youngsters who in any given year wouldn't have had the opportunities that they probably had this year. I mean, we had to change 8 people before the Wasps game, and it's created opportunity. And what that's going to do for us in the next year to 2 years is massively grow the experience of the group. And I think that's really exciting. And yes, this year's been tough, and yes, we've had 6 or 7 games on the bounce where we haven't won games. But if you look at the games over Christmas, particularly against Cardiff, particularly against the Ospreys, we actually shot ourselves in the foot, and discipline was an issue, but it was never a lack of intent. It was almost sort of a overexcitement at times, or the exuberance of youth that kind of gave away those penalties, whatever it was, that hurt us at the time. But we're learning from those experiences. And I think what we've created this year is an opportunity for youngsters to play, to come in a group that has got some great experience around Sam, around Jamie in particular. Ben Carter comes in and he just looks like a natural straight away. So this has been a tricky year. And on paper, you might look at it and go, oh, we haven't won enough games. But what we've done is we've grown young guys, we've created opportunities for young guys to come into a group that knows what they're doing, that's got some great leadership. And I think we're going to benefit from it at the tail end of this year, but certainly moving into next year. So yeah, it's been tricky. It's been tough. It's been unprecedented, I think, is that probably a cliche word that everyone's using at the moment.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited about the opportunities it's going to create for us the next year or two.
Yeah, I mean, there is so much desire and potential for growth and improvement at Dragons, and it's exciting to hear the passion, that's for sure. Simon, I'm going to stay on you right now. A question from Philip Bindley. What changes would you like to see to the laws of the game to rebalance what is, in certain circles, viewed as an imbalance between attack and defence?
Well, attack's got all the rights at the moment, isn't it? So I was actually talking to Jamie about the other day. I think the 50-22 rule potentially could be quite an interesting one to look at. So if you kick the ball from inside your own half and you land it in the opposition 22, you would then get the line out. That might create some more space potentially in terms of having to put more numbers in the backfield. The one thing I'd like to see. We started off the year as a defence coach looking at jacklers being protected. I'd like to see referees go back to that, because I feel that we've gone away from protecting the jackler. I think there needs to be a competition for the ball. Some might argue that that's been more heavily favoured in the defence route, but I actually disagree. I think the jackler needs to be protected. So I would like to see them being protected a little bit more, but I'd also like to have a look at that 50-22 rule. That might make a bit of a difference.
Well, thank you very much for your insight there, Simon. A question to all of you now from Gareth Lee Clare. So we'll start with you, Jamie. Favourite player to play alongside?
Oh, come on, Jamie.
What's saying you, Sam?
I'm going to get asked the same question in a minute, mate.
Yeah, and you won't say me. Favourite player to play alongside throughout. Well, I'll do 2 of these. Throughout my career, would have been Shane Williams. Just had the ability to turn games on his own. I've not played with a player like that. Like I played in many games with Shane where you'd be down by a point come 70 minutes, and the only real tactic was give the ball to Shane, and he'd turn the game on his own with a line break or a smart little jink and play. And I've, as I said, throughout my career, I've not played with anyone of his quality and ability to do that. So that would be him. At the Dragons, do you know what? I really enjoyed playing alongside Aaron Owen on the weekend. He is a real talent who's obviously come through both the Dragons system and the national, kind of age grade sides. Funnily enough, I was chatting with Richie Reese, a good friend of mine, who I played with at the Blues, actually. He played at the Dragons, actually, and he coaches at the Blues now, but he also helped coach Aaron when he was age grade stuff, and he was asking after him, and again, rates him highly. I know he's highly rated as a young player. And yeah, just as a guy who, I'm not a coach, but, I've been around enough young players in my career to kind of have a little bit of foresight and see where they'll land in 2 or 3 years' time. Ben, I won't embarrass Ben. I know he's on the call. He's another one where in 2 or 3 years' time, I can see these lads knocking on the door of Test rugby. And you see the attitudes of these guys and the quality they possess. A couple more years in the gym, a couple of more years being a bit streetwise from playing regular rugby. They'll be knocking on the door of Test rugby and be regular players in the Dragons jersey. So that's one of the real kind of benefits and things that give me great pleasure is playing with the Dragons. I get to play with lads like that and feel a part of their journey.
Absolutely. Ben, I suppose your favourite player to play against then at the Dragons?
I'm gonna copy Jamie on this one. I've played with an Iron for quite a few years now, and he's just everything in that you want. He possesses every sort of attitude or just he's everything that you want in a teammate. And I think we're quite lucky that we have a group full of people like him. But when you're playing with him, you can trust him that he's giving 100% in everything that he's doing, and he's not shy to tell you if you're not. So sort of he'll keep you on your toes, but in a nice way, because he wants you to do as well as you can. And he's a great friend and teammate, and I do really enjoy playing with him, especially coming up to these sort of higher levels, having played with him for quite a few years. So it's testament to him, really.
And Sam, is it a triple whammy for an Iron? What are you going to say?
Come on, Sam, Paul.
Well, I think I'm going to go say Jamie and Carter. No.
That's nice of you.
No, like it is. To be fair to an Iron, he is unbelievable, and same with Carter. I know he's on the call, but I go into the tent to review my footage from the weekend, and them two boys are always in that tent, no matter what. They're reviewing their footage, they're across their detail, and that just speaks volumes of them as blokes. And not also that, they're incredible blokes as well in terms of this. They're so nice, and it's like Jamie said, you can realistically see them going on for real high honours if they keep their work ethic as it is now. And touching on what someone like Jamie said, talking about Shane, someone who I also love to play with, Justin Tipperick, just because he's an outstanding player, and growing up kind of idolising him. He could play outside half, really, but he's a 7 and he's incredible at that job. But touching on the Dragons, I love playing with all the boys, but it's just nice to have a young crop of players coming up who are very dedicated and very driven to want to be the best players that they can possibly be. And two boys that really epitomise that would be an Iron Owen and Carter. I'm not just saying that because Carter's on the call. I genuinely do believe that, and they are both really, really good blokes as well. And it does help having the old age pensioner outside me at times as well, just to add a bit of experience in there. And I think he's very good for us this season, and very good for me as well, just in terms of having that chat outside you. To be fair to Jamie, he's got hundreds of caps, Jamie, should we say, including the Lions. So it helps, and there's other boys who I love playing with as well, and it's hard to answer that question because that's just touching the tip of the iceberg, really. But like an Ira and Carter are boys who I really do, I respect them for what they do.
Sam, who's your favourite coach, mate?
And that would be Simon Cross, of course.
Well done, mate.
Actually, Simon, thank you very much, Sam, for your answer. Very complimentary, all of you boys. But Simon, just quickly onto you. I am very cautious of time here. Your favourite player to coach?
Oh, come on.
It's like your favourite child, isn't it?
You can't ask me that.
Come on,
I've already bigged that. So I've got a 10 on the call who's tough as teak. You've got Carter who's been whacking people for fun, and Jamie who, well, Sean Edwards is defence captain. You can't go wrong. But I'm not going to pick any one of them. I'm going to give you two other names because I've always appreciated the underdog, and there's two blokes in the squad I think that epitomise Dragons rugby. You've got a guy like, and it frustrates me and annoys me that there's no noise around them with the Welsh squad. You've got a guy like Rodri Williams, who, from a defensive point of view, he is one of the smartest defensive rugby players I've ever come across. Like he's one step ahead of the attack. He's unbelievable. And the other guy for me would be Harrison Keddy. He's everything you'd want to work or to have to work with a defender. He cares about the place. He's energetic. He's tough as anything. And my driver is to get those two blokes back into the Welsh squad. I don't think anyone understands how hard they work and how good they are. And they need the recognition for everything they put into the Dragons.
Well, thank you very much. Very, I say, politically correct answer. So thank you for that. And thank you, Gareth Leclerc, as well, for that brilliant question. The other question I wanted to ask is to Sam, and this is from O. Griffiths. I don't know whether he's changed his name, but he says, is it true that you are the worst player of Call of Duty in the Dragons camp?
That's Owen Griffiths, bloody... Oh, sorry. That's Owen Griffiths, the analysis, that is. Owen Griffiths, is that you?
Possibly is. I can't reveal. I just have an initial.
Okay, well, all I'm going to say is no, I'm not. There's a lot worse players. There's a lot worse players in that Call of Duty group, so we'll just leave that there.
Okay, fine. Edward Vaughan has a question to all of you, a quick fire one. Let's go for Jamie first. Hardest player to play against?
Oh, God. The hardest bloke that's ever run into me was a guy called Brad Thorne. Ex-leaguey, eyed me up from about 20 metres, 120 kilograms of New Zealand prime beef, just came straight at me, almost snapped my shoulder in half.
Wow. Okay, Sam, what about you?
Just going off past experiences would be Ben Teo, because he ran at me and he had a big pad. I'm not sure what was in that pad, but it felt pretty hard. And he just kind of KO'd me. So I suppose that was quite a tough one to take, and I was just outdoors. So probably just someone like Ben Teo, just because he runs hard and he's got a big metal pad in his arm. So he does that to your head. It's kind of hard to get back up.
And Ben, your first year sort of in the senior squad, you must have seen, or had a couple of new big hits.
Yeah. Probably the standout one for me was that game against Wasps. The opposition second row, Will Rowlands and Joe Launchbury, to test level, proven international locks, and that real sort of tough opposition in line out and on the pitch. So probably those two for me.
Brilliant. Graham Bradbury is a question for you, Simon. He says about Saturday. What were you more proud of on the weekend? The first 20 minutes in defence or the last 20 minutes of attack?
Oh, it's easy to...
You know what? It's... I think both, because the first 20 minutes could have taken it out of a lot of sides. We needed to knuckle down. We needed to defend a bit. But what I loved about what we've got at the Dragons is you've got a group of guys that care. And the last 20 minutes, the energy the boys showed and was outstanding. And you know, the work that Ryan Harris and Dan Bow have done in terms of the conditioning of the boys, you know, don't underestimate how hard that first 20 was. But to then soak that pressure up, go up the other end and score, and then come back to score 5 tries was outstanding. And that's what it's all about. It's not about just defense or just attack. It's about the whole thing. And I think we're starting to build an environment where everyone understands that. And it was just a great team performance and one that I think everyone could be proud of, you know, and something for us to build on and head into Ulster, Glasgow and Edinburgh in the next few weeks.
Absolutely. Well, let's just hope the momentum keeps building. A question to you all. Again, we'll do this as a quick fire when we want to get through as many as we can. Gemma Bunning says, what's your favourite part of training? Is it sort of being a gym bunny or is it sort of the running all day, the CV side of it? Jamie?
It's definitely not the Jamie.
Yeah, no,
You would say something.
It's probably competition. I love competition in training. Like, I think it's massively important that the lads are competitive in whatever drill they're doing. There's an element of competition in it. You know, anyone can run plays against nobody and, you know, go through drills against pads. I just love competing. That's, you know, as long as there's elements of competition in most training days, that's when I enjoy coming to work.
And Sam, what about you? Are you a gym bunny or do you like sort of the cardiovascular stuff?
I'm certainly not gym bunny. I mean, I try to work as hard as I can in there, but it's tough after a weekend of getting run down your channel all game. But no, like Jamie touched on, really, the competitive side of things, it just brings that. I don't know. I suppose as professional rugby players, we're all quite driven. We're very competitive, and you know, you break into little teams. Sometimes the coaches have got us doing competitions against each other, and it does get really heated, doesn't it? I mean, like even today, James, it's just like supposed to be a calm walkthrough, but it's not. It's like you're competing all the time. And I remember speaking in lockdown, and I had a Q&A, and it was like, what are you missing most? And it was the competition part of it, really. And so I'd have to just back Jamie up there and say, I do really enjoy the competition side of things, and just things click in, you know, when things training and that all the boys are buzzing, it's really no other feeling like it.
Yeah, it's hard to motivate yourself when you're sort of on your own, isn't it? What about Ben? Gym bunny or running all day long?
Everything.
Yeah, I think I enjoy sort of the competitive side, but I think also you know, things do get heated in training, but when we sort of come off the pitch and things, you know, the group's really tight. There's a lot of banter all the time, and that's great, I think, and I enjoy that sort of social side of things, the team sort of bouncing off each other, and it just makes, you know, the whole day really enjoyable, whatever we're doing.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for those answers. Simon, to you, a question from Ewan Coombs. He says, hi, Simon. I coach the Dragons wheelchair rugby team, and I was just wondering if you think there are any universal principles that can be applied to defence in any format of the game.
Oh, great question.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I think talking to each other, communication is a big one, but also I think staying together, staying connected would be the big one for me. I think you can deal with anything that anyone throws at you, provided you have a connected defensive line that is willing to talk to each other.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that little insight. And look, I'm going to finish on this question. You know, we've had over 100 questions this evening, so we've tried to pick a wide variety of different topics. But Beth and Doyle, and I guess this is to Simon, but, you know, boys as well, the players, if you'd like to sort of jump in. What is the team's or the club's targets for next season?
I think from a coach's point of view, we've created an environment where there's an awful lot of opportunity now. So we need to understand what we are. And I think we need to continue to bring the level of energy the boys are bringing at the moment. It's a great group, and it's difficult to talk about targets when we do, like, if we get our processes right, if we turn up every week, if we know our stuff, if we're willing just to go and work hard together, I think you'll find that good things happen. And for me, that would be the big thing.
Absolutely. Boys, anything you'd like to add to that? Maybe your personal views?
I'll add to that. I think Simon is right. I think the easy answer to that question is win more games. But the most important thing is how do you do that? I'd love to see us have a real identity about how we play the game. And when you look at successful teams, when you look at, let's take for example an Exeter or the Saracens of a few years back, or I don't know, probably Harlequins now and the way they play. When you talk about those clubs, people know how they're going to play. They don't change their style of play to suit opposition. They go out, they back their style of play, and it's a case of, right, just deal with it. And if they can't deal with it, you win the game. So I think as we go within the latter end of this season, I hope the victories from this year have kind of harnessed something within the group where we really kind of play to our strengths, understand what we're best at, and really develop an identity of playing. And then, as Simon alluded to, I think you'll find that if we can really do that, we'll win far more games next season. So yeah, I want people to speak about the club, and when the people talk about Dragons, they know how we're going to play. They know they understand and expect to see this exciting brand of rugby.
Absolutely. Sam, I'm sure you've got something to say.
No, I just think, well, going off what Jamie said, I think expectations, and he worded it a bit differently, but my expectations would be to try, win more games. I think coming off the back of last season, when the season got cut short, we hadn't won an away game in 4 years. So to go to Zebra and win that season away from home was big for us. Now this season, it's been a bit obviously interrupted, etc. But we've won 3 games away from season, 3 games away from home so far. So I just want to keep seeing progress. I want to see us competing, with the top level sides. I haven't beaten an Irish team with the Dragons yet, and that's something I've got an opportunity to do with the squad on Saturday evening.
Yeah.
And I just think just making sure that we're moving in the right direction, making sure that the progress is not only visible to us, but visible to our fans as well, because they're a huge part of it. And I think, we touched on it earlier, but for the likes of Carter and then Iron Owen, just if we can get that Rodney Parade back to, hopefully when we're allowed, get that Rodney Parade back to what it was like for the Christmas derbies last season, that would be great, because that really does spur us on. And for them to experience that, I think, they've both been playing outstandingly well, but for them to experience that, I just think it will pull even more out of them and even more out of our team as a whole. It's almost like, I know it's an analogy, but it's that 16th man type of thing. And I think we do need our fans, because they give us hell of a lift. So I really can't wait for them to get back in and hopefully come along this journey of progressing and getting some more W's under our belt against the bigger teams,
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Sam. Ben, anything you'd just like to echo or add just to finish this off here?
I think the lads have summed that up well, and I think it's important to stress. I think it's realistic with the group that we've got and how much everyone cares. I think it's definitely realistic and within our reach of progressing next year.
Absolutely. Well, look, we wish you all the best for the future, and obviously the very near future this weekend against Ulster. Thank you very much, Jamie, Sam, Ben and Simon, for your time tonight. And thank you for being very open, honest, giving us a real great insight into what it's like at the Dragons at the moment. It's great to hear your love for the club as well. And thank you very much for the supporters this evening. As I say, we've had over 100 questions tonight. So big love to all of you, and a big thanks to the Dragons for having me. I'm Polly James, by the way. For putting on this event, and in association with the Dragon Supporters Club, with the support of the fantastic headline partners Compeed. So thank you very much to those. Keep your eyes peeled on the Dragons Twitter feed tomorrow, because you could come across some very good news. In the meantime, have a lovely night, keep well, keep safe, and we'll see you at the start of April for our next Zoom. thank you and good night. You can now log off. Thank you very much.
Cheers, colleague.
Cheers,
See
guys.
you all for a beer at the Rodney Parade as soon as possible.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, after a big win.
In Estonia.